Change the user and pass back to match the original user in the database, admin and admin. Now rerun the scenario. Boom! This time it explodes. Integrity constraint violation, unique constraint failed for user.username. We already have a user called admin in the database. And since I made that a unique column, creating another user in given is putting a stop to our party. Important point. You should start every scenario with a blank database. Okay, that's not 100% true. What I want to say is, you should start every scenario with a predictable database. Some projects have lookup tables, like a product status table with rows for in stock, out of stock, back ordered, etc. I really hate these tables, but anyways, sometimes there are tables that need to be filled in for anything to work. You'll want to empty the database before each scenario, except for any lookup tables. Since we don't have any of these pesky lookup guys, we can empty everything before every scenario. To do this, we'll, of course, use hooks. Create a new public function, clear data. Clearing data now is pretty easy since we have access to the entity manager via self::container, get doctrine, get manager. Now we can issue delete queries on the two entities that we care about so far, product and user. I'll use arrow create query, delete from @bundle::product, arrow execute. Copy and paste that line and change product to user. Oh, and make sure that says product, not products. Activate all of this with the @before scenario annotation. Okay, try it all again. Perfect! We can run this over and over because it's clearing out the data first. And surprise, there's an easier way to bootstrap Symfony and clear out the database. I always like taking the long way first so we can see how things work. First, install a new library called bhat/symfony2-extension with --dev so it goes into my require dev section. An extension in bhat is a plugin. We're already using the Mink extension. Activate the new plugin in bhat.yml with bhat/symfony2 extension. And as luck would have it, it doesn't need any configuration. Looks like we're still waiting for the install to finish in the terminal. There we go. The most important thing the Symfony 2 extension gives you is access to Symfony's container. But wait, don't we already have that? Well, this just makes it easier. Remove the private static container property and the bootstrap Symfony function. Instead of these, we'll use a PHP 5.4 trait called kernel dictionary. This gives us two functions, get kernel, but more importantly, get container. It takes care of all of the booting of the kernel stuff for us, and it even reboots the kernel between each scenario so they don't run into each other. That's important because, remember, each scenario should be completely independent of the others. Search for the old self::container code. Change it to this arrow get container. You can see that PHP Storm all of a sudden auto-completes the methods on the services we fetch, because it recognizes this as the container and so knows that this returns the entity manager. Let's try things again. Still works, but now with less effort. If you have multiple context classes, you can use the kernel dictionary on all of them to get access to the container. Okay, so what about clearing the database? It'll be a huge pain to add more and more manual queries. Fortunately, Doctrine gives us a better way, a purger. Create a new variable called purger and set it to new ORM purger. Pass it the entity manager. After that, type purger arrow purge, and that's it. This will go through each entity and clear out all of your data. If it's working, then our test should pass. And they do. Same functionality and a lot less code. For bigger databases with lots of lookup tables, it may be too much to clear every table and re-add all the data you need. In those cases, try experimenting with creating an SQL file that populates the database and executing that before each scenario. Or populate an SQLite file with whatever you want to start with. Then copy this and use it as your database before each test. That's a super fast way to roll back your known dataset.